Hello, everyone, and welcome to another segment of Sound Mind. My name is Brian Collier, and I am so excited sharing with you today. Listen, I appreciate all of the views that you've given the Hope TV, but specifically Sound Mind. It has been my pleasure to be a part of this series in our second season, where we have conversations about mental and emotional health. I want to stop and just give a big shout out to our producer, Dr. E. Dewey Smith Jr., who was our guest last week. If you haven't seen that one, you want to go back and make sure you catch that nugget. How do you cope with your new norm, holiday blues? It was very impactful. So make sure you go and see that if you haven't already done that. I ask you to do this each time. Please, 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 please put in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. Say hello, interact with us as we communicate today. But most of all, I need you to share it. Can you at least share it with 3 people today? I normally say 5. I'm gonna give you a break. It's close to the holidays. Can you share it with at least 3 people? We have an amazing guest today. We're gonna be on her couch. She's gonna be helping us walk through some things. But before we do that, last but not least, I wanna give a big shout out to my AP team, the producers in the back, the tech people in the back that make this work and happen in Hope TV world. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Couldn't do it without you. So you have come tonight for an amazing segment. This young lady that we have coming on, I'm going to let her tell you about her ministry. But I have known her literally most of my life. I can say that she's a childhood friend. She is doing amazing work in education, but also with life development, both in the spiritual realm and the natural. So without further ado, would you please welcome, we will be sitting on her couch today, Mrs. Elisha Coon Scott. Hey,
Hi,
my friend.
everyone. Hi.
I'm so
glad
happy
to be
to
here.
see your face. So happy to see your face.
I'm honored to have this conversation with you. So,
All right, so
excited to
family,
get
I'm gonna let you know now. She is about to just burst out with some nuggets. So make sure your heart is ready and open. I normally start this off in a different way, but I'm going to do it differently today. Elisha, will you tell us about You Are Worth It? I see you're wearing your You Are Worth It t-shirt. Can you tell us about Worth It?
So, Worth It is a t-shirt that is basically just a reminder of remembering our worth in Christ and remembering how God's love is the foundation for everything that we are and everything that we believe about ourselves and everything that we need in order to feel valued. So that's pretty much all to it. It's based on Romans 5:8. God demonstrated his love for us in this, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And it just reminds me that we all war for worth at some point in our lives. And we struggle to figure out, like, we want to be worthy, yet we're unworthy. It doesn't make sense. But I'm just thankful that even in our unworthiness, God demonstrates his love towards us and is willing to go all the way to the cross and suffer all types of things on our behalf. So I think that if nobody else tells us that they love us, we can hold on to that.
So I love that concept, and I'm so grateful for that. And it's a perfect segue in. Elisha, a lot of our viewership, we're church people. And you and I, we have been in church literally all of our lives. And so it's interesting that we have to have a conversation about seeing our value and knowing our value. Can you just walk through with us just the importance of just knowing our values? Because I know a lot of people who grew up in the church like us who have really low self-esteem and they battle with depression. And some of our viewers that may be watching now battle with that as well. Can you just help us walk through where you were in this place in life when you got this revelation and how you got there?
So the first thing I want to acknowledge or say is I am no expert at this topic. I am a person who I'm experiencing this topic. So this is not just a reminder for other people, honey. It's a reminder for me.
Let me tell you.
And so the thing that I really want to convey today is that I'm that person. Like you just talked about my life story without knowing it. I grew up in church. But one of the things that I remember telling somebody that I love, I was like, people love me for performing. People can empathize with me when I'm in pain. But who's going to love me for being present? Not doing anything, just breathing. And,
wait, hold on, Alicia. Hold on. You done messed me up already. People love me when I'm performing. They can empathize with me when I'm in pain. But who's going to be there for me when I'm present? Can you break that down just a little bit more for us? I'm sorry, I can't just let you walk away from that.
So the weird part about this is, oh my gosh, it's so much to say, but let me just focus in on this one thing because I know we'll get to the other stuff in a minute. I used to wonder, like, on social media, if people just kind of somehow I see that people get likes when they do something like extreme, right? Or something that is just off the chart, something that is some type of achievement. That's something that people can get behind. That's something that people can support. Now, if you do it for too long, I've also seen where people try to silence your success by like not supporting anymore because it's too much achievement. But that's another topic for another day. But then on the other side, I always see people who may have never even thought to check up on somebody or I'm just using social media because that's the age that we're in right now. I'm not saying social media is life. But let's say they like posts when people die. Or they post about all the amazing things when people die. So granted, I know that even in the olden days or whatever, people probably did the same thing. They clapped for you in church when you did something good. And when you passed away, everybody was sad, But I'm just asking about that dash point, that in-between time. How are we showing love to people when they are just breathing? You know what I'm saying? Just living their life every day. I feel like maybe, I don't think that people intentionally don't show love towards people in the moment. I just think that people don't know how to do that. And the reason why I think that people don't know how to do it is because I can only think about myself because I don't know about anybody else. But I was talking to my brother the other day and we were talking about this idea of needing other people to feel for you because you don't allow yourself to feel. And so sometimes I think that we distance ourselves or disconnect ourselves from the present because it seems too hard to bear, And so sometimes you just need people to kind of, lean on or feel for you. Or you need, like, I found myself to be one of those people who need somebody who can, like, understand my feelings. But I need that because I don't let myself feel. And I don't give myself a chance to understand my feelings. You get what I'm saying? Not because I'm not an extreme feeler. I go to counseling, and that was one of the first things she said, honey, you can get a 9. 9 is the highest level for the affection you can give. I made a 9. I can give a 9 in affection. I love people, but also my need is an 8. So I can look like a real needy person because I need a lot of affection too. But I think that's how God works. Why would he give me something to give when he didn't give me a big tank to receive it? Then I'd be giving from an empty place. And so I'm saying all this. I know I went around the world, but I'm saying all this to say that sometimes we just need people to love us for breathing because we don't love ourselves when we're breathing and we're not achieving. You get what I'm saying? And we don't acknowledge ourselves unless we're in pain and we ain't got nothing else to give.
Alicia, it's so crazy. It's so crazy you say this. I was with my therapist just last week, And she said, you know, Bryant, your issue is you only see your value based off what you give. And so I'm over here sitting in this chair right now, like cringing because you're just like all up in my business. But that's the thing, like who is celebrating you for just being you? I have the affectionate title of being called Uncle B. I have no kids of my own, but all of my adopted god sisters and god brothers have had kids, and all of their kids are my nieces and nephews. So I love being Uncle B. And my therapist said, she said, why do you love that? I said, because they have no expectation of me. They don't need any, they don't care that I'm the preacher. They don't care how much money I have. As long as I can buy chicken nuggets, that's all they care about. Like, it's simple. And it's those relationships that I cherish. And what we don't realize, Alicia, and this is for somebody out there, you've got to learn how to love you, like Alicia said, while you're breathing, not because of anything you've done. And I think, Alicia, what it is, especially in this social media thing, like I was beating myself up over the head because people my age are getting married and having kids. And I'm like, what am I doing? But then they're looking at my life saying, oh, he gets to travel, he gets to move freely. And what we don't understand is we are envying the other person's world that they're envying of ourselves because we don't know the blessing we have in just being present in who we are. I'm sorry. You just blessed my whole life. If she's blessing y'all, I need y'all in these comments. Alicia, keep going.
No, you've said a lot of great things. Oh my gosh. The first thing I was going to say is you said that your nieces and nephews don't have any expectations of you until they do. That's the thing that we have to remember. That it may be that now, but life it goes on. It's a living, breathing organism. Like, things don't stay the same. And so one day you'll wake up and be like, they do have expectations of me outside of chicken nuggets. What am I supposed to do with that? You know?
Yeah.
And then the other thing I was gonna say is what I realized when I was telling this loved one, like, who's gonna love me for being present or whatever, is the fact that, honey boo, you don't love yourself for being present. That's why. So when you ask the question, who, you need to be asking you. If you, right.
It's me.
And I think sometimes we do that. When I was talking to another one of my friends, we were talking about the fact that one thing we know is that we can give to other people and we can love other people. But we're not as certain about that for ourselves. Because something within ourselves tells us that we're unlovable. And so when I think about what I'm saying, I think that sometimes when we feel like a burden is too heavy, we put it on other people to do it for us. So now I'm looking like, who gonna love me? Or who? And it's y'all. And it's really you. Like, you know, I had to sit with myself and I'm still sitting with myself. I'm not saying this in past tense. Like, I go through this phase of worth in different seasons of my life. I thought I had outgrown whatever this is, but as soon as I put the message out there, life came down on me. I experienced, you know, the anxieties of, you know, not knowing what people think about me or what's being said about me or if I'm being misunderstood. I experienced the depression of, you know, believing what this shirt says. It's one thing to hear it and be like, whoa, that's a word. It's another thing for you to really believe those words. So if you told me right now that you love me, or somebody else told me right now that they love me, could I believe those words? If God said that he loved me, which he already has, can they go past the page? And if they can't, that's a me thing. I need to figure out what level of hurt has caused so much of a barrier and so much of a misconception and so much of a alternative negative focus that I cannot believe that I am loved and I'm valued and I'm worthy. And so that's kind of what I mean by being in that middle. It's not, I don't see myself as a person who chases after achievements. But one thing I realize is when I look up, people are clapping. And you may see this in terms of your world. So you didn't start preaching or speaking because you thought it was cool and people were going to clap for you, right? I've known you for a long time. You've always spoken. You've always spoken. I'm just saying, okay? But sometimes as people, like when you're an influencer and you do these things and you look around and people are clapping and they're looking to you for the next time you're going to speak or the next time you're going to achieve, then you feel the pressure of having to perform. So at first it wasn't a performance, but now it's like, well, I can't let anybody down, you know, even though you didn't start out that way. And so that's why I think even in that performance aspect, it's so important for us to just remember, like, why was I really doing this in the first place? Was I doing it so that I wouldn't let anybody down? Or was I doing it because I had that fire, that purpose, that passion on the inside of me that I had to let out for God's glory, regardless of the interactions? And I think where it gets hard is all of us love when we're the part of Jesus where he was feeding all those people who were hungry with the fish and the loaves. But when it's time to go to that cross, be that Jesus, where you ain't even really do nothing wrong. They ain't really got nothing against you. But out of straight envy, they choose to let a murderer be set free over you. And the same crowd that was there clapping for you at one point or asking you for healing or whatever. I'm not saying it was those same people, but you know, they was all in the same group.
It's still a crowd. It was a crowd.
They crucified him. And I think that when we get as believers, when we get to that aspect of our faith walk, that's where a lot of us fall off and go into a depression. But that's not something that Jesus didn't do. Because when he went to the Garden of Gethsemane, he said, my soul is anguished to the point of death. That sounds like depression to me. He said that he was so burdened by what he was purposed to do. You get what I'm saying? But
I get it.
That garden experience,
I get it. I'm with you.
Okay, you got to tell me this is my first TV show, honey.
You're doing fine.
You know I'm silly. So, in that garden experience, he was praying, you know, sweating blood, all this other extra stuff, but he went to God in prayer so deeply to the point where he was able to stand up and welcome his betrayer. I haven't gotten there yet. And I think that the reason why we get to that place where we just want people to love us when we're breathing is because the performing part of us is no longer cool. It's no longer
gets
accepted.
old. It gets old.
And you
get tired.
And it's temporary. You can't you're a human being. You're going to run out. And so it's not that you were trying to do it in the first place, but it's just the fact that you just feel like so many people are watching you that you have no room for error. And then on the
what
other
I hear
hand,
you saying is don't let people push you past your pace. That's what I hear. Don't let people push you past your pace. Because that's what'll happen. You'll come up and say, oh, there are people applauding. Oh, well, I got to keep this going now. No, I'm going to do what I'm doing, minding my business. And if you happen to see it as it's happening and you applaud it, great. But I didn't start it out this way. And I know our time just moves so quickly in this segment. I want you to tap in a little bit to the essential core of your ministry, which is about don't lose yourself. Because you haven't given me that one yet. Just go ahead and just, I'm sorry, do your thing, Alicia. Do your thing. You're just blessing me today.
No,
is she blessing you all?
It's fine. So basically, how do I put this? My mom started Don't Lose Yourself. Our family was going through a very tough time, and my mom sat down with herself, and she realized that she probably didn't remember what made her happy anymore. She probably didn't remember, you know, who she was outside of a mom a wife, children's ministry leader. She couldn't remember, teacher. And so she wanted to pull together a group of women that we just met at Panera Bread monthly, and give us an opportunity to remember who we are. Because while God has called us to love other people, He said, as yourself. That means like yourself. And so a lot of us try to do the loving of others first, and then we get broken trying to do that because we're not equipped to meet all of their needs and expectations. And then we try to love ourselves, and we realize we never gave ourselves the time of day, so we don't even know who we are or what we need. And then we try to take those broken pieces back to God. Don't Lose Yourself is encouraging us to hold on to that Mark 12:30-31 scripture. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, your strength. Then love your neighbor, but as yourself. So love God, love you, love your neighbor. My mom also spelled out this. She had a heart, and she spelled yourself without the "you-are." And she was saying that that's how a lot of us love ourselves, the yourself version. But we want the one that has the "you-are" in it. Really identifying, what is my identity? What is my purpose? And when you know those things, you can better unify with people and serve. A lot of people are serving out of insecurity, serving, and contaminating or tearing down the very things that they say they're trying to build. But it's not because they want to be, people who want to knock down the wall or whatever, it's just because they got their own struggles. So that's what Don't Lose Yourself is about. And I just basically took it and ran with it. When I started teaching, I realized a lot of my students didn't know their identity. They didn't know their purpose. They didn't know they had gifts and how to serve others. So I just took that and did a youth conference, and then I switched. I added on the women's conference, and I hope to do this in a family capacity. But we have women's conferences, we have women's meetups, we have Bible study, we have all types of things. And I've been doing this for years, but I never wanted to attach my face to it. But I think a lot of people didn't know that it was something I was doing. So I finally just kind of like sucked it up and was like, okay, guys, like this is something I'm passionate about, and I want to share it with others.
So Alicia, help me with this. So it's interesting you say this, because people are trying to lead out of insecurities. That's messed me up. I'm just going to stop right there and say that's messed me up right now, and it's messed me up because someone out there may feel that they are too old to figure it out now. They have missed their mark in figuring out their worth, their value, what their purpose is, what their calling is. Alicia, just for a moment, for that person that has given up and thrown in the towel mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually, I just feel like this is a divine moment. Can you just speak to them, give them some encouragement about not losing themselves and to see their worth and value?
The first thing is, it's not your responsibility what they think, what they perceive, what they see. Your responsibility is you, how you interpret it, how you own it. When you when you allow your offenses to become who you are, then you become the offender. And so I think that it's so important for you to remember that you have to be grounded somewhere, and you have to know your worth, because if you don't, then other people's insecurities and other people's misuse of whatever you've given becomes your own. And then you start picking apart everything that God made you to be because you weren't grounded. And so the main thing that I'll say is this. I too felt like it was no hope for me. After experiencing abuse for using my voice, after standing up for what was right and being met with rejection, after being young and trying to be all who God created me to be, and causing other people to feel insecure, I decided that I was too much and I needed to dial down. But the more I reshaped what God had already made, the more I was, just malfunctioning. you know how those phones get hot? Sometimes I felt like I was just overthinking to the point my brain was about to explode. I had so many emotions to where I just felt like there was like I was not useful to anybody because I just felt like it was too much. But then I realized a lot of that stuff was not even me. It was stuff that I just people handed to me, and I was like, thank you, even though I knew it didn't belong to me. And so my main thing right now is, this is something that so many people have told me, let it go. And I used to be like, well, what is it? And when do I let it go? And how do I let it go? I don't know how to do that. But genuinely, seriously, give it back. It doesn't belong to you. And even if you don't give it back to the person who gave it to you, because a lot of us want to give it back to that person who gave it to us in the first place because it's your fault. But we have to remember that giving it to God is more powerful than giving it back to the offender and playing, toss and catch with, the person who offended us. I'm tired of being my offender. I'm tired of being my offense. And you got to get to the point where you're so tired that you just decide to do something different. It's as simple as a decision. That's what I want to tell somebody. Like, I'm not saying this from a place of, super Christian. I'm saying this from a place of, I got so low to the point where I was like, it felt like death. My insides felt like death. My mind walking around felt like death. And I only had two options: live or die. You gonna die here? You gonna die in it? Or are you gonna live in it? And so I decided to live. Simple as that. Even if that means letting it go or whatever the case may be. One of the things I want to say about this Worth It shirt is I use these images, and you won't be able to see them on the screen, but I talk about how we become a product of our experiences. How, you have all these trashy things that happen to you, all these empty things. You become like a restroom girl that's full of all this stuff. You don't know how you became this person. But a lot of people just dress it up. They say, oh, be a queen, make it look cute, put on some makeup or whatever the case may be. But you still trashy and empty on the inside. And then I use The Weeknd. He doesn't have an E in his name. And he says, girl, you're perfect. And you do all that stuff in that song, only to find out at the end that you're not worth it. And now you all 50 Shades of Grey with your crown and everything else. And your crown is made up of social media, seduction, the soldier, all that stuff. And it doesn't get you anywhere. Fighting for social worth with performance. Fighting for relational worth with control. Doing all these things so that you can just hold it together. Hoping that that you will be able to earn it someday, and you never do. And that's what you realize. Just like The Weeknd, life is the same way. It doesn't play fair. You do all this stuff and you're not worth it. So what I realized is that weekend that Jesus went to the cross, where the E was there, it connected us to eternity. And it showed us that I don't care how trashy you are. You can be the adulterous woman. You can be the lady with 5 men. You can be whatever. You can be so far from me. But I love you enough to die for you. Yeah. And to be raised to life for you, so that there's no dead situation that's too dead for me. That I can bring any dead situation in your life back to life. And so if he didn't allow himself to die there, he wouldn't have known how it felt to live there. And if he didn't die, those disciples and the people who saw him after wouldn't have never been able to know that was really him. It was his death that made them know that he had resurrected. You get what I'm saying? That connected them to the resurrection power. And so I think sometimes when we fall in front of people and people see our shame, they see our guilt, we think that all is lost for us. But when God turns it around, it means all those same people can see his resurrection power in your life. And so I just think it's so important for us to no longer be queens that are qualified under everyone's expectations and needs. That's how I identify a queen, to get this point across. We can say queen all day, but it's not going to mean anything if we're still qualified under everyone's expectations and needs. We have to get to the point where we are confident women embracing eternity's nature. That's CWEEN. Confident women embracing eternity's nature. And when we do that, then we can, people say, protect your peace. I'm sorry, but it doesn't belong to you. People say, I manifested this. I'm sorry, but if you can manifest it for you, then you should be able to do it for me. You should be able to do it for yourself again, and all those other things. Like, we have to get to the point where we embrace eternity's nature, that we're willing to say, you know what? All this stuff I got in my life, I've tried to hold it together. I've tried to clean it up like I cleaned up my room, move objects left to right, and help that they stay. But life doesn't work that way. You can't clean up your life the way you clean up a room. You have to allow God to come in and literally consume that room with his peace and with his love and with his joy. And that's what I found, that the more I just lay in his arms and I stay in his presence, the more I remember truly who I am, and he reveals it to me. And I truly believe if you ask him, he'll tell you. And I'm still learning. I'm not telling y'all something that I'm, like I said, an expert in. I'm still learning.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Elisha Scott. I hope I didn't let you all down tonight. I have known her all of my life, and she has just blessed me tremendously tonight. I want to. Our time has come to an end, but I want to touch on some things really quickly that she hit on. There's a pivotal place in someone's life right now. Are you going to live? Are you going to live in the funk, in the craziness, in the discomfort, in the ugliness of life right now? Or are you going to die there? If you die there, that's it. There's nothing else. But there's so much more life in you. What both of us said tonight, we've all been there. We look good right now, but it's because of God and our therapists, our counselors, that help us to get to this place. But the work is real. How are you loving you? You got to stop performing. Alicia, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I would be remiss. I always ask my guests, if you had to leave us with one nugget to think about to get through the week, what nugget will you give us in your parting words tonight?
Here's what I will say. This is a 3-part thing. I hope y'all can remember this. The first thing is, what do you want to be full of? Do you want to be full of all of the negative things that have tarnished your reputation, caused you all the pain that you've endured? Or do you want to be full of the fruit of his spirit? A lot of us are seeking his spirit, but we won't seek him. We want love, joy, peace, patience, kind, but we won't seek him. Seek God. And I promise you, you'll get full of him more than you are of your offenses. He can wash us away. The second thing I think is super important for us to remember, that we can die one of 2 ways in our situation. Because the Bible says that the more you lose your life, the more you find it in him. So Jesus could have died 2 ways. He could have died on the cross and not had hope in God, or he could have died in surrender and experienced resurrection power. I want you guys to die in your situation to the point where you allow him to find you, because you surrender, instead of dying there with no hope. So just remember that when you look to the cross, not only are you worth it, but it is going to be worth it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Elisha Scott, thank you so much, Elisha, for being with us tonight. You were phenomenal, as I knew you would be, and I know someone's been blessed. Listen, fam, if she has blessed you tonight, put it in the comments. Let her hear your love. And then I need you to tag some people who you know need to hear this. Send it to them in their messages, in their text thread. You are worth it, and it is worth it. Thank you so much for being a part of Sound Mind again. I appreciate you coming week after week. To all of our family and friends, please make sure you share this. We'll be back here in the same place next time. Take care, and never forget that God doesn't want your body to just be well, but he also wants your mind and your heart to be well. Take care, and we'll see you soon.